Well, hello, coaster enthusiast. I am Elizabeth Ringus, the Communications Director with American Coaster Enthusiasts, and June is World Roller Coaster Appreciation Month. Now, this is not at all what we expected when we announced this in November, that we were going to dispatch this in June of 2020. I never thought I'd be coming to you from my family room virtually to share some fun of roller coasters with you. Now, we're going to spend the month not doing what we had planned, which was meetups and all sorts of fun things. But we're going to be coming to you virtually, sharing some special insights into the industry, history, and the fun of roller coasters. And we're going to kick it off in this month with Jack Reimer. Now, you might have seen some of his work. You might have enjoyed some of his roller coasters, but you've never gotten to ride any of his roller coasters. Jack is with CoasterDynamix, and you can see behind him one of his models. So he's going to share a little bit about what it is and what he does. Now, Jack, for those that aren't familiar with CoasterDynamix, will you tell us a little bit about the company?
Sure. CoasterDynamix was started in 2004 with Mike Graham. He's my business partner. He's Gravity Group, and he designs real roller coasters. So we started the company. We decided we had this idea. We wanted to do a roller coaster, sort of an advanced roller coaster system. And we did a lot of prototyping and machining and everything like that. And Mike had the design experience. I had the manufacturing experience. And then we created, the Dragon. That was our first model. And, we've done subsequent models since then. We do Nano coasters, which are the little souvenirs you get at the parks. And we branched off into like sort of Lego compatible rides. And that's our CDX Blocks line of products.
You do have quite a variety of different models and different systems that you've created through the years. Now, the Dragon coaster was, did I read correctly that it was the very first one you came up with, and now you're bringing it back again?
Yeah, we debuted the Dragon at No Coaster Con. I don't even remember what year it was. Was it maybe 2004? And it was pretty spectacular. The only thing up to that point was, I think, Connects. There was a roller coaster, a functioning roller coaster model. And, the Dragon, it had a complete bogey system and, 40 some wheels on the train. It's pretty spectacular, and it's very efficient. And, I don't know. I think that really launched us. The only problem was it was very expensive.
It is. It's a very niche market and a very special product you produce, because this is not a toy. This is truly a modeling system. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a completely expandable modeling system. You get instructions to build what you see behind me, which is the standard Dragon layout. But the bases, all the components can be reconfigured. You can build your own models. I mean, people have built just massive, really complicated models. And as long as you adhere to the principles of physics, just like with a real coaster, everything will work fine for you.
It's really fun to see what some people have created. I love seeing the pictures online of creations people have made with your different models. And there's so many different options. But I'm wondering, are you a coaster fan yourself?
I am. I always loved coasters. I remember back in 1978, going to Busch Gardens and riding like Loch Ness Monster. And I went to Cedar Point that year. I was too afraid to ride Gemini for some reason, but I've always been an enthusiast. And when I was young, about 12 years old, which was in 1978, coincidentally, I was always trying to build model roller coasters. I would take Hot Wheels tracks and build them in my basement, and like HO and N-gauge train tracks, and try and create cars and everything. It's very difficult to build a model roller coaster, contrary to what maybe people think. That's why you don't see too many out there.
You're right. The only other ones I've ever seen are Connects, and Lego has one now. But I remember my first exposure, I believe it might have been the first time I ever saw CoasterDynamix, was your static coasters.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember seeing those in the parks.
Yeah. So, we had all these models. We did sort of like a B&M floorless. We had a B&M hyper. We had a B&M inverted. And we're like, well, why don't we just create these with plastic wheels and put them on a piece of track and sell them at the parks? And they did okay. They didn't do as well as we thought. You know, some parks did better than others. You know, of course, now that we don't have them anymore, everybody wants them, and it's like, oh, that was the greatest souvenir ever. But they were pretty cool. I mean, we're working on some things. You know, I'd love to bring them back. There are a few parks that are really chomping at the bit to get them, but we've kind of got our hands full now. The Nano coasters are really taking off.
And it seems like those have been a real tipping point of a nice price point and a great souvenir, a good size to sell in the parks. Do you think that's been the difference maker, that the static coasters were more difficult? I remember seeing them, I believe I saw it at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, but there was a nice, beautiful model of a coaster there too that was a moving coaster. Was that your model also?
Yeah, we actually had two there. We had an Alpengeist model that was in Oktoberfest, and then we had a Griffin model. Well, actually, we had a huge Griffin models, about 8 feet long, that was in one of the gift shops right when you enter the park in the back. And then we did a model that the park sold of Griffin, which they had in like a case on a table. And that did really well for us because it was running. So it's funny story. They had it on this this display, but the display was on wheels, I think. So when we went down to maintain it, we were talking to the people in the gift shop, and they said that like 3 times a day, they have to take the display and pull it back because everybody pushes up against it and pushes it all the way to the back, and they have to pull it back up to the front again like 3 times a day. We thought that was cool because every time we went in, there were people just packed around it, watching it. The stuff
That's
gets
what
a lot.
I always remember too. I had never heard of your company, but I remember seeing that.
Right.
And loved watching it. And so when I made the connection of your company, I'm like, oh, this is so much fun.
Well, you know, they invited us down to do like an artisan thing. So we had a ride called the Phoenix, which, you know, it's not as elaborate as the Dragon, and it had like $150 retail, and they wanted to sell it at the park. So we gave them a bunch of Phoenix rides, and we set up in like France, and we had like tables, and we had our roller coasters, and people would come by. You know how they have the people that paint the things, and you know, so we did that, and we had a prototype of the Griffin, and we told everybody, you know, that was coming at Christmas, because this was sometime, I think in the fall that we went down, and they did really well with that at the park.
Nice. And it's getting that display with a moving, showing people what it is, because when they see it, you can see what the value is that you're buying. It's hard when you can't touch.
Right. Well, that's one of the problems we've had with the Nano coasters up until now is, you know, we would give the park extras and they would build them and they just put them someplace and get all bent up. So now what we're doing is we're building them in like display cases for the parks to exhibit. And that's Kings Island did that at Christmas, and they went crazy with them. They actually did a proper Nano coaster display and had tremendous success. So I think that's what it's going to take, because you don't really know what you're getting when you see the box. You know, you have this engaging picture of the ride on the front. You're like, oh, that's cool. And you turn it over and you don't know what you're getting. And, yeah, I wish we could sell them assembled. Originally, one of the parks was demanding that we do that, and we just couldn't do it. I mean, because if you have them assembled, let's say you assemble them overseas, and you know they're fairly large, so you're shipping all this air. It just would raise the cost way too much. And, you know, the parks really like to get their money's worth out of all their souvenirs. Say that.
And the way they're packaged, it lets them display them in a tighter space right by the coaster. And some of those gift shops can be rather small. I can imagine that would be difficult to display them all. I can see the advantage to having them already assembled. But for me, I love them because when we're flying, they're a great souvenir. They fly really well when they're disassembled.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Yeah, they do travel well, and it makes it easy for us to get them in. You know, we'll get like a box of metal, and the box may only be this big, but it's, you know, got 100 models in it. And, you know, you could never do that with anything. You couldn't ship 100 of anything in that small of a space. So.
No, you couldn't. And then what was the inspiration that allowed you to come up with the Nano coaster? Because that was a big shift for y'all. It's not a working model. It's a nice display to enjoy in your home. What inspired that idea?
So Chris Gray. Some of you may know Chris. He used to be at Gray Coasters, and when he was with Gray Coasters, he approached me. One of my other businesses, we do water jet cutting, which means we take high pressure water and we do a lot of foam cutting for gaskets and things like that. So he said, "Hey, I have this idea." He had a piece of real thin foam that he sent me, and we would cut out like their latest ride and would glue it to this other piece of foam, and it was just like this little model of the ride. It looked like a Nano coaster, but it was made of foam, and it's kind of hard to build. It was hard to, but they wanted to give them to like a park or something as a sort of just like this little token of, hey, this is what your ride's going to look like, and we never ended up doing it because we couldn't figure out a way to do it efficiently. And so then I had another business where we were taking metal and we were photo etching like a 5x7 piece of metal into the shape of a city, like a city map. So I got the idea. I'm like, you can get really intricate with photo etching. It's a process where you take a piece of metal and you put a film on it and you submerge it in acid, and when you bring it back up, it eats away at everything but what's on the film. So you can get super intricate. And I'm like, that would be really good for the structure of a wooden coaster or something like that. So so we kind of took that concept. We had to get a different metal, something that was a little more malleable, and then we cut all the bases in-house on our lasers because each base is different. We have to tab it, and it was a lot of work. The design process of how to create the rides, and a lot of the rides that we do, they don't exist, so we have to create them off of like 3D renders, and because the parks don't always want to give you any drawings or anything like that. So someone will say, well, this deviates from the real ride, and lots of times it has to, like on Steel Vengeance, it has 3 loops of going around, and the third loop, it's intertwined so much with the structure that nobody would be able to build it. So we just basically had to leave it out because we have to walk this fine line between frustrating the consumer and being realistic. And we make those calls, and sometimes we catch grief over it, but for the most part, the parks are really happy with what they get.
That's very good. And how do you decide which coasters to produce as Nano coasters?
The parks do.
Okay.
They're starting now to realize that this is selling well, so they're exploring like defunct coasters. We have quite a few that we're working on that people will be kind of happy to see, I think, in the coming months that have disappeared, and a lot of that, I think, Kings Island. So we did 3 for Kings Island, like I mentioned, at Christmas time, and none of them existed. So we did Orion, it wasn't built. We did Son of Beast, it's been gone 10 years. And then we did Vortex, which technically was gone at the time. So they sold the best numbers they'd ever sold in the shortest period of time on 3 coasters that never exist, that don't even exist. So that's when I think a lot of the parks said, hey, wait a minute, maybe we can do this or that. And, there's going to be some stuff this summer that gets released that, of some old coasters I think people will be happy about. And then we just announced this week, we are going to do, so we can't do any branded rides. We can't sell any from our site. So everything we do has to go through the parks. There was a time when we were selling like an Apollo's chair, we called it Hyper Coaster. We had Kraken, and we called it, Floorless Coaster. And the reason we did that is we had created all those models for Busch Gardens and SeaWorld, and they're the park that wanted them built. And we created all the rides, and we couldn't come to an agreement. They wanted them built, we couldn't do it, so it just kind of died. But we had all these designs. It takes a lot of time and money to do. So we just like, okay, we had made some, so we're like, we'll just sell off what we made, and we can't call it those, Kraken or Apollo's Chariot. But so we just announced this week that we're going to be doing like Dueling Dragons and Olympia Looping, which we can't call either one of them those names. And then we have another one, which I haven't announced yet, but we're going to do Crystal Beach Cyclone also.
That's
So we're going to sell
exciting.
those off our site. But we do have an agreement with the people that do Olympia looping. They want to be able to sell it, like, whenever they take the coaster around and stuff. So we'll be doing that. But so I wanted to have more to be able to sell on our site. So
That makes sense, because you do, you have a nice variety on your site. But how many Nano coasters do you produce now? How many different ones?
So we've created this website that isn't live, where we've listed every Nano coaster from every park, and I think it's like 80 some, and that includes what's in development, and that doesn't really include anything from Europe yet. We have one order from Europe right now that we're working on, but I think we'll get a lot more. We have nothing in the Far East. It's all just domestic coasters.
That's really fun, though. That's a huge collection for somebody who really enjoys building them. And they're a great way to hang on to that coaster memory. They display very nicely.
Yeah, they do. I mean, there's somebody that has like all of them, or a few people. I've seen them like on Reddit and stuff like that. It takes up a lot of space.
They certainly do. I will say, but I'll say the best way I've ever seen them was when Six Flags Magic Mountain used them as centerpieces last year on the top of a cupcake stand for it was a dinner during CoasterCon for American coaster enthusiasts, and it made the perfect topper for a cupcake stand.
Really?
Yes, they were so cute.
I didn't know that.
I'll have to send you a picture.
Neat.
And then they gave them away as door prizes. The problem was, though, they were assembled, and my son won one. So getting it home from California assembled was a task.
Yeah, they don't travel well. A lot of people complain that they're fragile. They're not really meant to be handled. It's a weird concept. They have to be built. They're not always easy to build. When they're done, they look really good. I think they look nice. And it's very specific to the ride. They, like the parks say, we don't have a whole, we have t-shirts that, sometimes they don't even show the correct ride on the t-shirts, but they have t-shirts, they have things for the ride, but this is very personalized for that particular ride. And they really like that.
That's nice. And then the other side of your market are the coasters you sell on your website, like the Dragon coaster and your CDX Blocks coaster.
Right.
Do you have a particular coaster that is your favorite of all the types you work with?
The Dragon is definitely, so most of my time is consumed with CDX blocks. So I'm used to building, we do a lot of demo models for stores. That's the Little Dipper. It's not very big, Little Dipper. And then we do the Sidewinder. So I'm used to those scales. And then we decided we were going to do this, and we brought all the components home to build up the prototype because we made some changes from the original. It is so big and so amazing. I mean, it's just like when you see it in person, it's pretty astounding. I mean, it's truly like the greatest model I think we've ever made.
That is very exciting, and it's immense and beautiful behind you. Would you say it's 6 feet? I mean, I can tell it's long.
Yeah, it's 6 feet by like 2 feet, and I mean, the thing is, the larger the model, the more realistic it looks as it traverses the course. So this one, when it goes through the loop, it has some pace to it. It doesn't just zip through like a smaller model would. Like our Sidewinder or even the Scorpion, which is based on this. Things just happen so quickly because everything's condensed. When you start spreading these models out, they look much more realistic when they function. Of course, gravity doesn't change. It's just your perception of the model.
Correct, because the coaster, you don't typically think of it being packed in that tight. This looks more like a realistic coaster. So what is different about the Dragon coaster than the CDX Blocks coaster? So the CDX Blocks builds more like Legos with a piping that you would then attach to make the track. Tell me a little bit about this one.
Sorry. So the CDX block stuff is all based around a block, like a Lego type block, and everything presses together. Even the supports, the tubular supports are just a 2x2 round block piece that you put an axle in and just create height with. This, you have like 1 foot pieces of tube that are hollow and 6-inch and 4-inch and 2-inch. And it's on a base that you can take this apart and create with it probably a lot quicker than you can with the CDX. The CDX, you have a lot of structure, and if you create a 2-foot tall support, it's like 3 pieces with this. It's a 12-inch piece, a connector, and a 12-inch piece. With CDX, you got to put a whole bunch of pieces to create it. So if you want to take something down and recreate with a system, the CoasterDynamix system is much more versatile. But it's all based on the same track and essentially the same basic track and train system. The wheel system's the same. The rail that we've used from day one is the same rail that we use now. It's a different material, but it's the same profile. It just worked. Mike did a great job designing the original system.
And you have a few other rides you've incorporated too, so we can round out our full amusement park in our homes. Tell me about some of your other rides.
So, well, we have a number of things. So we do some rides for like the O-gauge train people, like Lionel and that scale. They're really detailed rides. They're built. They're laser cut. They're really expensive. But we also have we're starting to come out with a line of rides for the CDX stuff. And I don't know if you can see behind me. There's a Ferris wheel back there, and then this is something that we're playing with. It's just if I can hold it and do it at the same time. It's just a teacup ride. But the cool thing about all of these rides is we're going to do a teacup ride, a Ferris wheel, and a scrambler to start off with. And they're all going to be, each one's going to be $25 retail, which is, really affordable. And it's got a lot of parts, got a lot of gears, a lot of stuff happening. We want to create a line of rides that are mechanical, easy to build, and economical. And that's what I'm most excited about right now, because that's what I'm working on, is this line of, affordable toys.
I like it. And so the teacups, do they come assembled, or do you assemble them when they actually come?
You'll assemble everything. The cups themselves are like 5 pieces that peg together, like a Lego thing. And they have a lot of they have gears underneath and a rack system that allows it to rotate. And but it's all, you can combine. So one of the things when we did the CoasterDynamix system, everybody's like, oh, I want a station, I want people, this and that. And we're like, that just takes a lot of molds, and there aren't that many people that want it. So when we did the CDX stuff, by making it Lego compatible, you can take your Lego blocks, you can build stations, you can build tunnels, you can build, whatever you want. If you get the basic teacups and you want to add something to it, just build onto it. So it increases the versatility of the system.
That is exciting. I mean, you really are putting together some really fun, and I like that you're focused on the price point. And you have a huge variety of different price points, so there's a lot of options there. Looking at it, what age would you say this is appropriate to introduce to a child, a young teenager? Where do you typically think it's a good introduction?
The CDX stuff is obviously the lowest. I think on some of the easier kits, you could probably be 8. There's a lot of pressure on us to get down to 6. I don't think we can do 6 with these rides. I think there's too many mechanical elements that need to integrate. Although the way we're designing it is we're trying to design it so you really can't mess it up. Like when you build it, it only goes together one way. And it's hard to design that. My engineer, Dan Linden, has done a great job he does like a lot of the Nano coaster stuff. He's done a great job he has a real grasp of what it needs to be very Lego-ish. I sort of think of all these ideas and throw them out there, and then he takes them and finds out what'll work. And it's a fun thing. I mean, we've used this whole coronavirus time, because we can't go out and do a whole lot. like all this stuff was designed like in the past 2 months. Well, not the Ferris wheel, but you know, we've got a lot of versions like flat rides that we're doing. We've got probably 4 or 5 flat rides that we're talking about, and we also have a water slide. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have seen it. I was
right.
watching it at work last night on a video because my son actually came to me and said they have a water slide because, you know, I'm an enthusiast of coasters, but we love water parks. So we had to take a look at your water slide.
Yeah, so that was something that we were going to come out with this fall, but I think we're going to maybe push it till next year. And the reason is there aren't any shows to go to. You know, all the shows have been canceled. So we showed it at Toy Fair. We had a huge response, but there was no follow-up. You know, we didn't have the Astra show. We didn't have the Learning Express show, the Atlanta show, the Dallas show. So all the shows are gone. So we can't really build this momentum up with it. So we feel we can pitch the concept of the small rides. It's a lot easier for people to grasp. Oh, you're coming out with a line of rides that complement the roller coasters, and you know that's what we're doing. And then when you come, the water ride is really blazing trail, so it's sort of its own entity. So we could come out with that, and that could be the only thing. And I think it would stand on its own.
I see. It's a good marketing strategy. I see exactly your point on that, because these rides that you're coming out with are more complimentary and could be repeat business to people they've already bought. Your market's already somewhat there.
One of the things we want to do to market to people is we want to create a midway. You know, we want to have some roller coasters on a midway and some rides. We did this with our O gauge, more expensive rides. We made this 8-foot long diorama with little people and all these rides, and you know, it gets so much attention. Everybody just goes crazy over it. And there's really nothing, you know, I know Lego has done some rides, but their rides are, you know, $150 to $200. They're very detailed. I mean, they're really well done. But the average person isn't going to put, you know, 4 rides and a $400 roller coaster like what they have on a, you know, I see pictures of that, but it's not something that, you know, the average person can afford. We're trying to get something that's reasonable.
Exactly.
Which I'm sure everybody will say, oh, that's contrary to what you do, because we have I've got a $500 kit here behind me. But yeah, it's something that needs to be done. I mean, we've seen the success of the Nano coasters, and you know, they're not cheap, but they're certainly not $500.
Right. I'll say that I have really enjoyed the hands-on activity of your products during this pandemic. It's been something that can be an easy activity for my son to really undo, redo, build it again, build it different, explore with it. And it's been nice to be able to incorporate a little bit of education into this time at home.
Right. Yeah, I wish this was available right now, because I think people would really enjoy it. Yeah. You know, this was the Dragon was supposed to be released about now. I mean, we were supposed to have it, but obviously things got weird with manufacturing and everything like that. But you know, we're back on track with it. Everybody asks. I get emails every day. You know, when's it coming? When's it coming? And I don't know. You know, a lot of components are finished. They're just waiting to be shipped, but they're waiting on other, you know, we have to run the trains, and the trains have to be assembled. And we switched wheel manufacturers. You know, one of the manufacturers went out of business, so, you know, we had to find a substitute. So it's not as simple as just plugging back into where we were getting all the components before. You know, there's long stories to it, but bottom line is they're coming, and it's just, you know, we just got an email the other day, and he sent us a picture of just skid after skid of these green bases, you know, just thousands of these bases packed up, ready to ship. And I'm like, oh, that makes me feel better. At least they're done. It's like that's the heaviest component. So.
And so do the parts come from all different manufacturers and then go to one central place to be boxed and packaged?
Yeah. You know, the rail, we already have the rail. The rail is one manufacturer. The spine is another manufacturer. The lift components are another. You know, of course, we have motors and springs and power supplies. Those are all different manufacturers there. Most of them. Oh, and then the tubes. That's a different manufacturer. And then the molded parts, most of the molded parts for that come from one manufacturer, but then the wheels come from another. So it's probably, I don't know what I said, maybe 12 different manufacturers.
Wow. That's a lot of logistics to make it all happen.
Well, it is, because a lot of them, or some of them, are here in the States, which has created some issues recently. Most of them are in China, and they had Chinese New Year, and of course they went into lockdown right after that. So there's this 2.5 months, and then one of the factories, they couldn't come back even when they opened up over there, because most of their employees were from Hubei province, which they had locked down. So, even when some of the factories were up and going, we weren't able to get parts from some places. So it's been really difficult. And I hate to use it as an excuse. And people are like, oh, you said it would be here in May. And it's like, well, guess what? Something happened really significant between when we said we were going to have them in May and now. But it's moving along. I mean, there's nothing right now that's a big obstacle. It's just, the biggest thing is the guy that does most of the molding. When he was shut down, when he comes back up, he does a lot of molding for IBM and Volkswagen and like big companies. So he's slammed trying to get these big companies back. So he's kind of fitting us in between. He's doing a great job of it, but it's not like when he's caught up, he can run all this stuff in a week. He'll run for a shift and then wait 2 days and run for a shift. So it's just a whole different environment for manufacturing.
Absolutely. And this pandemic has definitely taken a toll. I mean, all the supply chains, just like you said, factories aren't running what they thought they would run. I don't think anybody could say their life is what they thought it was going to be.
No, I mean, I've got a whole warehouse full of Nano coasters sitting ready to be shipped, that are paid for. That the parks aren't open, there's nobody to accept them.
Right.
So it's tough.
It has definitely been interesting, and I'm sure that everybody's found pros and cons. Like you said, the positive is you've gotten some time to focus and pump out some great projects. What do you think your favorite project of all times has been? Is it the Dragon Coaster, getting to bring it back?
Bringing it back it's been more of a logistics thing than, we knew what we would do to change it to make it better. So we didn't really pour over it. It was fun building the Dragon. I really, whatever I'm working on at any given time is usually what I think is the coolest. I like these flat rides. We developed a base that all of them are created around. And that keeps the production costs down and development costs and everything. So they all have a plate that everything's built up, and they all use the same gear system and everything like that. So there's some common denominators between them. So it's always fun when you solve a problem. You feel like you've accomplished something, and that's fresh in my mind from that. I don't know. I thought the Sidewinder was a lot of fun. Scorpion was pretty fun too. I don't know. It's whatever I'm doing at the time, I guess.
I love it. Well, you're just bringing so much fun and hands-on activities to the industry to give us another way to express our passion. I love that you're right in the Mid-Atlantic as part of the Mid-Atlantic region for ACE. And we love having you every time you come out and share with us. But I
need to get out to more events. I really wish I had time. I was going to make a point this year to do some events, and I just need to make time. I used to go to a lot of ACE events, and as I said, I have multiple businesses and they take a lot of time, but my kids have grown up. I used to go with my kids, and now they're grown. So, there's a lot of things that I would like to do. We went to CoasterCon a couple times and had a really great time.
It's an amazing experience. We're really sad not to have CoasterCon this year, but we know it's the right thing so that we can move forward in future years. But we'll be all enjoying CoasterCon at home with some virtual fun.
I'll put a GoPro on the Dragon and send it to you.
That would be great. We would love to see it. Yes. I know. We need some coasters in action. We're ready. We're itching for a ride.
It's the only coaster operating in the country right now.
Yes. Exactly. Well, Jack, thank you for sharing with us about your business and sharing part of your day. We really enjoy what you bring to us, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I really appreciate it.